Hello, I'm Matthew R. Miller. You're watching the Right Academy. Welcome. Today we're going to talk about English verbs, the three principal parts of an English verb. Then we're going to talk about the simple past tense and the present perfect and how we use them correctly. So verbs, yay, I actually like grammar myself. Some people don't. I think it's very interesting. Now, if you grew up speaking English, a lot of this grammar you just do naturally. You don't think about it, right? But if you want to write and create stories, whether that's books, short stories, movies, screenplays, whatever, plays, you need to know the grammar because you want your writing to come across as professional, as polished, not as, just something a kid scribbled down, okay? So you need to know the grammar. Now, English verbs, a long, long time ago, in a land far, far away, was a language, two languages really, called Anglo and Saxon. And they came together and had a baby called Anglo-Saxon. Those are Germanic languages, and that's where English comes from. I've mentioned before that most of our vocabulary actually comes from French, Latin through French because of a battle and conquering and blah, 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 William the Conqueror, but our grammar is still very much Germanic. So that's why we have these verb forms I'm going to talk about. Every English verb has three principal parts, okay? Three basic forms, if you want to think about it that way. The first is the present tense or the present stem. The second is the past tense or the past stem. And the third is the past participle, which you may have heard of. What in the world is a participle? Well, start with the present, okay? Take a regular, normal verb, to work, go to work, right? Work, W-O-R-K. Present stem is work. And the English in the present tense, I work, you work, we work, they work. The only difference is he, she, it works. We add that S. Okay, so present stem work. Now, the simple past tense is worked, ED, right? So for most English verbs, to make it past tense, we add an ED. If it already has an E, just add a D, okay? And then we have this third principal part called the past participle. In this case, worked, and we use it with I have worked or I had worked. Now, most English verbs are like that. The majority are regular, we call them. Work, worked, have worked. Kick, kicked, have kicked. View, viewed, have viewed, and so forth, the majority. But we have this weird little set of verbs that's a holdover from thousands of years ago that we call irregular verbs or strong verbs. These do not just add an ED for the simple past and then have ED, have worked, for the past participle. These have changes that are not consistent and logical. They change internally. Let me give you a good example. To eat, my favorite activity. Do you say, I eat every day? What did you do yesterday? I eated? And I have eated? No. What do we say? I eat. I ate. I have eaten. You see, those are irregular, okay? For the irregular verbs, you just have to memorize them if you don't know them. There's no other way around it. Some examples: drink, drank, have drunk. Swim, swam, have swum. Think, thought, have thought. Ride, rode, have ridden. Write, wrote, have written. Some of them, there's a few that stay the same in all three forms. They're still irregular. Put, right? I put, I have put. What is some of those? Quit. I quit, I have quit. These are all irregular. Any verb that doesn't have the usual ed is considered irregular, okay? Now, that part, if you speak English, you probably understand that, right? Drink, drank, drunk, and so forth. Now, how do we use these? This is where the important part comes in. The simple past, that middle form, right? So we have three principal parts: present, simple past, past participle. The simple past describes, and listen carefully, a one-time action completed in the past, okay? So, for example, yesterday I walked to work, all right? I did it yesterday, one-time action, I did it, finish in the past, done. I'm not continually walking. I may do it again tomorrow, but that's another form, right? So a past tense, simple past tense is a one-time action completed in the past. I traveled to France. Done. I'm not still there. I traveled, one-time action completed in the past. That's the important part. Now, what about the past participle? Okay, there's a few ways to use this. Today, we're going to talk about the present perfect verb form. Now, present perfect, but it talks about the past. How can it be past and present at the same time? Well, if I say this to you, okay, so for example, I, Matthew R. Miller, I used to teach English at a university. If I said to you, I taught at the school for 5 years, or I have taught at the school for 5 years, what's the difference in meaning? How does it feel different? Well, if I say I taught there for 5 years, it kind of feels like it's finished. I'm done. I did it, done, finished. If I say I have taught there for 5 years, it implies that I'm still teaching there. Can you kind of feel the difference? So this present perfect has to do with an action that began in the past but continues into the present. Right? I have taught there for 5 years. I started in the past, but I'm still teaching there. Okay. Now, we use this by using the verb to have in the present tense plus the past participle. I have, you have, he, she, it has. We have, you have, they have. Okay. So she has had her cat for 5 years now. She still hasn't, right? She had her cat for 5 years. Kind of sad. It seems like the cat's no longer there. You see the difference? So the thing to remember, this is really simple, but use it correctly. We use the, three principal parts: present, simple past, past participle. Most verbs, ed, is it present, past ed, past participle ed. Work, worked, worked. Jump, jumped, have jumped. Kick, kicked, have kicked, right? There's that set of irregular verbs that you just have to know. I see, I saw, I have seen. There's not that many of them. Not that many of them. Dozens, I'd say. And we use a simple past to describe a one-time action completed in the past. We use a present perfect to describe an action that began in the past and continues to the present. Okay? So it's important to use these correctly in your writing, because and there's one mistake that a lot of writers make, and it irritates some readers, especially if they are, let's say, educated or they think about such things. A lot of people use that simple past form and accidentally use it as the past participle. For example, here's how you should say it. I run, I ran, I have run. Those are the three principal parts. But a lot of people will say I have ran, right? And I'm not saying it's wrong. I mean, everyone speaks differently. Languages change over time, I understand. But if you write I have ran, it's going to come across to your reader like you are an amateur, okay? Or I have drank instead of I have drunk. Like I have ate there instead of I have eaten there. So be careful of that mistake. It's very jarring to a native English speaker. Even if they can't understand why, it's jarring. I think, it makes them seem, this person is not a skilled or professional writer. And I don't want that to sound elitist. I'm just telling you that's reality. Okay, if you say I have ran, then a lot of people are going to be irritated. And remember, what you don't want to do in any kind of storytelling is to be boring. And you don't want to draw your reader out of that immersion with a mistaken word that jars their ear. And they're in their world, they're enjoying it, and all of a sudden they hear I have ran, and they come back to the present. You don't want to do that. Okay. So I hope that helps. It's a simple little grammar. There's other ways we use the past participle, which I'll talk about in other videos, but that's just a little lesson on how we talk about things that happened in the past. Hope that helps you, and I appreciate it. Please like and subscribe. I'm Matthew R. Miller. You're watching the Write Right Academy.